This is Financially Fit Business with Ruth King.
Welcome to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to the health of your business or your clients' businesses. I'm your host, Ruth King. Here is how we will help you increase the financial fitness of your business today. What if you could do things that drive you crazy differently? You know, those phone calls from clients questioning their bills or clients not talking to you because they're afraid that they will get a bill, and then they do something stupid. Or clients asking for analysis of their financial statements or other CFO services. My guest today, Dan Lucas, founder and CEO of Credo Financial Services, is a CPA and CFO. He's been in your place and found solutions that might also work for you. Dan, welcome to the Financially Fit Business Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So you and I were talking last week about, some of the things that drove both of us crazy with respect to billable hours and billing by the hours. And you used to do that, didn't you, in the old days?
Sure. In the old days, I followed suit and I did what I was taught by my mentors. And as I was brought up in the public accounting realm, I did that for a while until I made so many mistakes. I started thinking of maybe alternative ways of doing it.
Oh, yeah. So when did you start Credo Financial Services?
So really, I started it. Well, I started it back in 2004, but I really didn't get it going when I was going to grow a firm and not just be sort of a sole practitioner in about 2014.
Very good. And then so it's both CPA services and CFO services, correct?
Well, right now we're exclusively more CFO services. Yeah, so we don't do the traditional CPA services quite anymore. However, we are CPAs by trade, so that tends to still bleed into all our work. Yes,
Yes. So you know what debits and credits are.
I know definitely no debits and credits. I can't look at a balance sheet without seeing what you guys see. So yeah.
So you grew up in the big accounting world. Where did the financial services and financial side start coming in to say, okay, this is what I really love doing?
Yeah, well, I think I started with Arthur Anderson in Chicago, and that's where I grew up. And I was in audit, but I was in like the enterprise group is what it was called. And so I was always working on smaller businesses. And I was always just very attracted to the consulting side of things. We never had enough time to do it, but I was always seeing different things the company could do or different ideas I had that could make things better, right? Improve the bottom line, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, I had to focus on the audit and watch our hours in that area. I got transferred down to Atlanta to work on even more entrepreneurial companies. And from there, I just decided to go out on my own and kind of open up my own shop and say, I'm just going to go add as much value as I possibly can. And hopefully I'll get a percentage of that value and be able to make a living somehow. That's kind of in a nutshell how it worked out.
And it did. It worked out well.
So far, it's been okay. Yeah.
So when did the switch from billable hours to flat rate billing take place? Or when did that thought was not, you know, 2014, 2018 was not
Mm.
in many CPAs' minds at that point. It was still billable hours. The flat rate billing and the pay, one price type things has been in the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years where it's become more popular.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. And I've thought about this a lot. I actually did I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I did a presentation at one of the AICPA events about pricing and stuff. I put a lot of thought into this whole area. And I'd like to say that it was some great idea that I had started with, but it really was because of pain. I mean, I think when I started off, when you start and you're alone, you're a sole practitioner, it's easy to bill case by case. And, you can set the price you want, et cetera, et cetera. But when you grow a firm, it's really hard to price out business for 30 people that are all busy at the same time, working on
Yeah.
multiple clients, right? And it's not really scalable. And so I went right to the billable hours. And as anybody knows, there's a real challenge with the accuracy of hours. Getting people to keep them with the right clients, getting people to keep them at all, following up with people. I mean, I found it a full-time job just to get people to follow up with their hours. And you got to be careful because you got to be accurate. if you're inaccurate, it could be a huge integrity issue, not even on purpose, right? If you build the wrong client, build too many hours and not enough hours, then that can cause a lot of conflict. And you have employees that are eating hours and things like that. And I realize that there's tools nowadays to sort of mitigate some of that. But I got to the point where I was like, we can't serve clients if we're going to be on this hourly thing. Like, we can't serve clients the way I want to serve them, right? Like, I want to add value to the clients we're serving. And I feel like if we're just taking orders and doing it by the hour, we're not really going to fulfill that. So, uh, you know, maybe it was a little bit ambitious, but I just felt like we really need to have relationships with clients where we can really take it all the way, where we can really take our time and really add value. And sometimes it takes time to add value. And sometimes that value isn't apparent until you actually finish the job, right? So a client may not approve 5 hours of work, but in that 5 hours of work, you can come up with a lot of value potentially, right? And so
Hmm.
I just want people to be stuck to the clock all the time, right? Because our mission was add as maximum amount of value to the client as you can. And if there's margin issues, that's my problem. I'll deal with that. You just focus on taking care of the client, right? And we'll price things accordingly up front. And so that was part of it, was just to kind of get rid of that pain point of, keeping hours, policing hours, people worrying about having to eat hours because they were going over. I mean, all the kind of issues that you'll have. And then clients, disputing bills, trying to negotiate with clients. When you're a sole practitioner and you're the billing partner, let's say, and you got 30 people working and you have clients, do you know how many phone calls you're going to have to take to do bill adjustments? A lot,
A
right?
lot. Yeah.
It's exhausting, right? And they're not always the greatest conversations, right? And the thing that stinks about it is that it was always on the client's term, right? If you do 2 hours of work for a client and you add $1 million of value to them, they don't care. They're not going to complain, right? But if you do, if you do 5 hours of work and they feel like you didn't add the value, then they're going to complain about it, right? So you're always going to be fighting the battle that's not in your favor, no matter what. You're never going to get the benefits when you actually do add value. So to kind of solve that administrative problem, we went to fixed pricing, whether it was retainer, project based, or sometimes we would even do some contingency on the side. And what I started to find was it wasn't just the time we were saving. The relationships were improving, but the margins were improving astronomically.
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right.
like 5
When we get back from break, let's delve into this and changing the philosophy and changing the pricing and how to do it on value-based pricing. So but before we take a break, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
Oh, I would say just shoot me an email. I'm at dlucas@credofinance.com.
Okay. dlucas at credofinance.com. Very good. We will be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Financial advisory services are the key to the longevity of the accounting profession. If you want to get started providing advisory services or want a review of a finance course you took in college, Ruth King's manual, Understanding Financial Trends Analysis, might be your first step. This manual gives you the information you need to help your clients with their financial statements. A great start or addition to your financial advisory practice. You help them with clarity on their business's financial health, the ability to spot impending issues and resolve them before they become a major crisis, less stress and sleepless nights worrying about the financial part of their business. Your Financial Statement Trends Analysis Manual is the reference guide. What do you want in your financial advisory services practice? Click on the link below for more information and to order.
We're back. Thanks for listening to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. I'm speaking with Dan Lucas, founder and CEO of Credo Financial Services. And before the break, we were discussing all the reasons that we really and truly don't want to do bill by the hour, especially with 30 people billing and working with clients. And we had started getting into the discussion about value pay, flat fee, value based pricing, or whatever else you want to call it. But Dan, let's assume that, we want to provide $1 million worth of value for our clients, as you mentioned before the break. We can't charge them $1 million, can we?
Probably not. Probably not. No, I mean, the market will only bear so much, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of people aren't willing to believe you that you can add that much value, right, beforehand. Um,
agreed.
but if, in your process, if you can demonstrate value first, take the time to do that, the pricing conversation becomes really easy, right? What is a fair percentage of a million? Is it 10%? Is it 8%? Is it 6%? I mean, we can't charge by the percentage, right? But you have all the leverage and they win, right? They win no matter what. They're gonna get 90% plus, right? So, and if you do it by the hour, you're just leaving margin on the table. And if you're not adding value to your clients that you can make a better profit on by getting a share of it, then I would just encourage anybody to kind of relook at your whole practice and say, why are we not adding value to our clients? And you are. You just gotta identify where it is.
Yeah. So if we're adding value to our clients, are and let's assume that we have 30 people working in the firm. Are they being paid by the hour or are they being paid by the project?
Well, yeah, I mean, that gets back to whether they're contractor or W-2. I mean, ideally, it's easier as an owner to pay contractor, right? And you can pay
Yeah,
by
sure.
percentage or hourly. Um, it typically for me, it's W-2, and it's just a matter of their production, right? So you can start tracking revenue per person, right? That's working for you, and that's really easy to track. Hours are out the window. Right? Like you can get a sense of how many hours somebody's working, et cetera, et cetera. If you really want to track it, you can. I don't really care about that much because if I've got one person who's got $100,000 salary, but they're bringing in 1.5 million in revenue, I can look the other way on the hours a little bit and then sit down with that person and talk to them about a promotion, see what they're doing, talk to them about how their practice is going, all that kind of stuff. Um, so really, man, it's like every single person is a profit. That's just the way I look at it. They add a certain amount of value. The pricing and the collections is how I, collect that value, and then I pay them a certain amount, and I get a return on investment on every person. Now, that might sound cold, but it's a lot easier for everybody. Everybody wins in that situation. They win, the employee wins, I win, and the client wins. Everybody wins,
Yeah.
and it's fair.
Yeah, it's very fair from that perspective because I've seen situations where the people who are being paid by the billable hour, one person, because they have to do X number of hours, one person will take a project and it'll take him 10 hours to do it so he can bill 10 hours when it really should have been done in like 7. And I've seen that. And that's not fair to the client. And it's also not fair to anybody at that point.
Right, and it's also an expectations thing, right? I mean, client frustration comes from missed expectations. Period. End of story. Frustration equals miss. When you have a fixed price up front, it's so much easier to manage expectations. So much easier. They're never going to complain about it. They're going to understand the value that you're doing because you've taken the time to do it. They'll be thankful. They'll be grateful. And if they're not, then maybe they're not the right client for you. If I'm giving you $100 bill for $10, you're going to be my friend.
Well, not only that, you'll get more referrals because they'll now, will they actually go out and promote you? Probably not, but one of their friends will start complaining about their CPA or their financial people. Oh, you should go use Dan because this is da 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 da, and all of a sudden you get a referral.
It builds trust
Yeah.
because even if you don't like him, you don't like his politics, you don't like his shirt, you don't like whatever, here's what I know. You're going to get 10 times of that, back what you pay them. I know that at least. And that lowers the risk of somebody referring you to somebody else.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I would think that your clients actually like it a lot better because not only is his value there, the trust is there, and they're willing to talk to you about things too.
Oh, absolutely. And one last thing I would say, Ruth, too, is when you're doing like slow down, take time to price things. It takes time. It's frustrating. And you constantly feel like in our profession that you got to keep going, 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 billable, billable, billable. And I get that. I totally get that. And we're always behind, right? But spend an hour, spend 2 hours, sometimes spend 3 hours, price something out correctly. You're going to save so much more time on the back end, right? And you don't have to work as hard either because you'll have your proper margins rather than trying to keep grinding and grinding and grinding and trying to collect all the time. It lets things slow down a little, makes things a little easier.
Absolutely. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts is, you know, think about your margins in term of value and how much value you adding to the market, how much of that percentage are you collecting? That's a whole other KPI. It's a whole other way of thinking about your business. Look at pricing and take it as seriously as it needs to be. And don't take business that you don't need. Don't take business that's not good business. Set a standard of the margin you want, take that and push the rest away. There's plenty of business out there for it.
Agreed. Dan, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a business owner improve the health of his company. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-8000 or email rking@financiallyfit.business. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.